Does the media lie? The short answer is yes. The long answer? Also yes, but not how you think. See, most people imagine lying in terms of blunt, cartoonish falsehoods. Aliens land in Ohio, that kind of thing. But modern media doesn't need to go that far. It's smarter than that. The real trick isn't inventing fake news, it's shaping real news in a way that distorts your perception, quietly and consistently. To understand how this works, we need to break it down into 4 layers. What kinds of misinformation exist, how the media spreads it, why they do it, and finally, why we, the audience, sometimes want them to. Let's peel back the layers. So let's talk about the types of media lies, from blatant to subtle. We're going to break down the lies, and not just the big, loud, obvious ones, but the ones that sneak past your radar. First, we're going to talk about disinformation. This is the Cold War-style James Bond villain level of lying. Disinformation isn't just wrong, it's strategically wrong. It's when someone knows the truth but deliberately chooses to warp it for political gain, profit, or control. Think North Korea saying that Kim Jong-un bowled a perfect 300 while blindfolded. Or the Russian state media claiming Ukrainian soldiers are actually American actors. Or your favorite political commentator knowingly spreading false claims about voter fraud and then backtracking once the damage is done. This is the kind of lying that's weaponized. Think psyops, propaganda, troll farms. It's a digital war for your perception. And it's not just international. Domestic players do it too. Political PACs, fringe news sites, and alternative influencers, they'll all pump out manipulated videos, doctored images, or headlines like breaking, scandal exposed. You click, they cash in, mission accomplished. Now we're going to talk about misinformation. This is the oops category. The journalists didn't lie on purpose, they just got it wrong. Maybe they misquoted someone, or misinterpreted a scientific study, or they trusted a source that they shouldn't have trusted. But the problem is that the impact is still the same. Thanks to a little psychological glitch called the illusory truth effect, the first version of a story you hear tends to stick in your brain, even if it's later corrected. Like a headline says, a new study shows coffee causes blindness. A correction 2 days later in tiny font says, oops, it was actually a typo. It said kindness, not blindness. But it's too late. Your aunt is already tweeting about decaf eye safety. The internet moves too fast for corrections to catch up. By the time the truth arrives, the lie has gone viral, made a podcast appearance, and gotten a book deal. Now we're going to talk about selective framing, lying by omission. And here's where it gets really tricky. There's no false quote, there's no fake photo, just real facts arranged in strategically misleading ways. This is framing, and it's everywhere. Let's say a protest happens. Thousands march peacefully. A few break some windows. 2 networks cover it. Network A says violent riots break out across the city, and they cue footage of a single burning trash can on a loop. Network B says citizens demand justice and peaceful protest, and they cue aerial shots of crowds chanting calmly. It's the same event, but with 2 completely different realities. Framing is powerful because it doesn't lie. It just curates the truth. It decides what to include, how to present it, and what to leave out. Even things like camera angles and background music can subconsciously shift how you feel. A story framed with ominous strings and desaturated footage hits very differently than one with warm lighting and an upbeat narration. And this isn't just a tool of political media. Lifestyle media does it, sports media, entertainment news, even weather reports sometimes hype storms for ratings. Now we'll talk about spin, which is the truth, just seasoned for taste. Spin is what happens when facts go through a marketing department. No one's technically lying, but they're messaging reality to fit a narrative. For example, a politician doesn't say, we cut funding for schools. They say, we streamline educational expenditures for efficiency. Or a company doesn't admit to layoffs. They announce a strategic pivot with a workforce optimization. You're hearing the truth, but it's been lacquered, glossed, and presented with a smile. This is the media version of no makeup, meant to look natural, but engineered to perfection. Here's the uncomfortable part. The more subtle the deception, the more dangerous it is. When you see blatant disinformation, like lizard people controlling Congress, you can laugh it off. But when you read well-written, real fact-based articles that's just slightly skewed, you probably believe it. And those micro biases add up. They shape how we vote, who we trust, and what we fear. They're why two people can read about the same event and come away believing two completely different stories. This isn't just a crisis of truth, it's a crisis of perception. So now that we've talked about the types of media lies, now we're going to talk more about how the media warps reality. Imagine you're running a media outlet in 2025. You need engagement, not just attention. You need clicks, loyalty, rage, shares, debates in the comments, and preferably someone throwing a shoe at the TV. But here's the catch. You can't technically lie. You'll get sued, fact-checked, and dragged on Twitter. So instead you build a toolkit. A Swiss Army knife of persuasion techniques that let you bend reality without breaking it. Let's open the kit. So the first tool in our Swiss Army knife that we can pull out would be cherry-picking data. This one's sneaky because it feels like hard evidence. Charts, numbers, percentages. It looks objective. But data, like Play-Doh, is wildly flexible in the wrong hands. The headline is 70% of Americans oppose this bill. It sounds damning, right? Until you find out that the sample size was 83 people, they were all from one neighborhood, and they all surveyed a protest against the bill. Or someone could say, crime is up. Well, yes, but nationwide it's down. The only uptick is bike theft in a single city. The headline ignored that violent crime is actually down 15%. Cherry-pick stats are technically true, but stripped of meaningful context. It's like saying 98% of people hate pineapple on pizza, based on a poll you ran in a pepperoni-only Reddit thread. The next tool that we're going to talk about is context removal. This one's brutal. You take a quote, chop up the beginning, and remove the nuance. Suddenly, a calm statement becomes a scandal. The full quote could be, "We should be cautious with this policy, but I'm optimistic it could bring change." But the headline would say, "Senator slams policy." That's not reporting. That's quote taxidermy. You take something once alive and nuanced and mount its head on the wall for clickbait. TV news does this with sound bites. Social media does it with clips. And we fall for it because who has the time to track down the full video? This is one of the most effective ways to distort the truth because the raw materials are real. The lie is in what's missing. Stop the steal. Fake news. Weapons of mass destruction. What do all these phrases have in common? They're catchy, they're simple, and they were repeated until they became reality. This is the illusory truth effect again. We're wired to believe something more if we've heard it before, even if it's false. It's how advertising works. It's how political slogans work. It's why jingles get stuck in your head against your will. Something like 4 out of 5 dentists recommend. You already finished the sentence, didn't you? Repetition doesn't just spread messages, it implants them. It creates a background hum of belief, a kind of wallpaper you stop noticing, but that still shapes how you see the world. Next up, emotional manipulation. Here's the ugly truth. Outrage is profitable. Headlines know this. Social media algorithms thrive on this. So every story is turbocharged with emotional triggers, like red breaking banners, dramatic music swells, and quote-unquote, what they're not telling you that could kill you tomorrow. The goal? Not to inform you. It's to spike your cortisol, to light up your fight or flight response. Because when you're scared, you click. When you're angry, you comment. And when you feel urgency, you stay. And so every issue becomes a crisis. Every opponent becomes an existential threat. Every headline is a heart attack in font form. This is not journalism. It's emotional theater. The last tool that we can pull out of our Swiss Army knife is speed over accuracy. We're living in a race, the 24/7 content sprint. And in this race, being first beats being right every single time. A celebrity dies? Tweet it now. Verify later. A rumor breaks? Push the headline, update the article tomorrow. Well, they say they're just reporting what people are saying. The result? Falsehoods fly, corrections crawl. And even when corrections happen, no one reads them. The viral moment is over. The traffic is banked. The media outlet walks out saying that we didn't lie, we just quoted someone else. It's a loophole the size of the internet, and everyone uses it. These tools, cherry picking, repetition, and the rest, they don't look like lies. They feel like information. But they're not here to inform. They're here to persuade, to shape, to engineer emotional reactions in the name of loyalty, ratings, and revenue. And the wildest part? Once you know these tools exist, you start seeing them everywhere. Let me know what you think in the comments, and tune in next week to learn why the media spreads disinformation and why sometimes we want them to.